dead. I was horrified by the atrocities committed by Hamas on October 7th, but I am encouraged by the reports that indicate that Israel and Hamas are closer than ever to reaching a ceasefire agreement that would return all remaining hostages held in Gaza to their families. Still, the reality of the matter is whether a ceasefire is reached and whether that ceasefire lasts, we must act now. I firmly believe in Israel's right to defend itself. It has been a critical ally in the region and has earned our support as it defends against threats from Iran and its proxies, including Hezbollah in Lebanon, the Houthis in Yemen, and Hamas in Gaza. Still, the manner in which Israel defends itself matters. After 15 months of war, I believe Prime Minister Netanyahu has overseen a military campaign that has had catastrophic consequences not only for the people of Gaza, but for his own people as well. As Israel's strongest ally, we have a responsibility to ensure that the legitimate anger felt by its citizens and the rest of the world after October 7th does not spiral into endless violence. What began as a war of defense has now devolved into a war of retribution and widespread destruction. Over 47,000 Palestinians have been killed since the war began, though a recent study published by The Lancet estimates the death toll could be as high as 40% higher. The majority of those killed are women and children. 90% of Gaza's population is internally displaced, and the threat of widespread famine has lingered for months. At least 6 newborns have recently died of hypothermia. The number of children killed in Gaza during the war exceeds the total number of children killed in conflicts worldwide over the last 4 years. And thousands of children, like Malik al-Kafarna, are grappling with life-threatening injuries as a direct result of the war. On October 24, 2023, Malik was waiting for food coupons at a market in a refugee camp when an airstrike hit and blew off his arm. It bears repeating that Hamas is an evil terrorist organization that cynically exploits civilians and has little to no regard for life, even the lives of other Palestinians. But research shows that terrorist organizations have rarely been dismantled purely through military force. Precisely because Hamas is such a threat, we must approach defeating them with a rational, evidence-based approach. Research by RAND shows that terrorist groups end through targeted intelligence operations or through a negotiated political settlement. In fact, I fear the war in Gaza will act as a recruitment tool for Hamas and will create a new generation of fighters who will seek revenge. After over a year of fighting, Hamas is weakened but has not been eliminated, nor have the remaining Israeli hostages been released. The last hostages that were released were in November of 2023, and they gained their freedom through diplomatic negotiations. What is urgently needed to bring an end to this brutal war is a diplomatic solution. Both the Israeli government and Hamas must agree to end the fighting, release the hostages, and flood the Gaza Strip with desperately needed food and medical supplies. It is in Israel's security interest to have a stable neighbor in a Palestinian state. Civil society has broken down completely in Gaza, and the territory urgently needs a peacekeeping force to help restore order. This force is post-war Gaza. Hamas cannot remain in power, and the people of Gaza deserve new political leadership that will prioritize peace as they establish a new government. Ideally, that government will be a reformed Palestinian Authority empowered to both govern in the West Bank and Gaza. The ultimate goal for all parties must be a lasting peace, and that can only be reached through a two-state solution. We have the opportunity to change the trajectory of lives like Malik. In 10 years, he'll be 24. The choices we make in the coming weeks and months can either leave him desperate and hopeless, a prime candidate for recruitment for Hamas, or we can give him and the more than 1 million children living in Gaza the opportunity to grow up in a world that has prioritized peace and security. We must work towards ending this war and building a positive future for both Palestinians and Israelis. Thank you, and I yield back.
The chair recognizes the gentleman from Georgia, Mr. Cutter, for 5 minutes.
Madam Speaker, I rise today to celebrate Coach Lamar Kirkley's 50-year anniversary with the Savannah Country Day School. Mr. Kirkley has spent the past 5 decades coaching and teaching students at Savannah Country Day. He had led the boys basketball team as well as the boys and girls cross country and tennis team. Mr. Kirkley has earned a spot in the Greater Savannah Athletic Hall of Fame and received the Teacher of the Year Award in 2020 from the Exchange Club of Savannah. He also won the Savannah Morning News Coach of the Year Award several times and across many different sports. Mr. Kirkley was previously a stellar basketball player during his years at Armstrong State University. He has expressed that teaching and in coaching go hand in hand, and he has excelled at both. Mr. Kirkley has an excellent ability to relate to students, colleagues. Congratulations, Mr. Kirkley, on 50 impactful years at Savannah Country Day, and thank you for what you did for our 3 sons. Mr. Speaker, I rise today to mourn the loss of Vincent Fort, who sadly passed away in December from cancer at the age of 68. Mr. Fort was a former graduate degree in history at Central Connecticut State College in 1978 and moved to Atlanta to study African American history shortly thereafter. There he wrote thesis on the sit-in movement in the Atlanta University Center, where he later taught history. Mr. Fort had several remarkable legislative achievements, including laws that took effect in 2002 targeting abusive lending practices throughout his life. Mr. Speaker, I can attest to this, as I had the honor of serving with Vincent Fort in the Georgia State Senate. Mr. Speaker, I rise today to congratulate Stacey Jennings on her being named United Way's 2025 Woman of the Year. Ms. Jennings has been a long-time volunteer in the heart of community service in Savannah. She has spent 33 years with the United Way of the Coastal Empire, where she has served on the board, several committees, and helpful fundraising. Mrs. Jennings is also the Executive Director of Communications for the Savannah-Chatham County Board of Education. She has proven herself to be a dedicated leader and impactful server of the community by supporting families and students across the community within the school system. Ms. Jennings' honorable achievement as United Way's Woman of the Year will be celebrated in March at the Women Who Rule event hosted at the Savannah Convention Center. She currently serves on the marketing committee and has not stopped her efforts to join new committees since she started at the United Way of the Coastal Empire. Congratulations, Ms. Jennings, on this incredible accomplishment, and thank you for your dedicated service to the city of Savannah. Mr. Speaker, I rise today to mourn the loss of former McIntosh County Sheriff Charles Wilbert Chunk Jones. Mr. Jones lived an honorable life, serving in the U.S. Army's D Company. He also served in Vietnam back in 1968. Mr. Jones's career in law enforcement began in 1971 with the Brunswick Police Department, and he later joined the City of Darien Police Department. After joining the City of Darien,